Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you've randomly somehow found this video, then hi. Please could you share this video? I'd be so entirely grateful if you could give this video a massive thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and get this video out as much as possible. So I thought I'd film this video now because January is actually Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. So this is going to be a video on my story, my smear, my colposcopy and also my results, but it's also to raise awareness for getting your smear for cervical cancer. One of my friends who's a bit younger than me, and she said that there's actually not much information out there. She actually doesn't really know anything about her smear, and that would actually be quite scary for her to go into this blind, if you know what I mean, because there isn't actually much information available and it's not really spoken about. So I just want to kind of get rid of that kind of smear fear and like the whole stigma behind it, because it's actually a massive deal. It saves your life, and if we can raise as much awareness as I want to, then I'll be very, very, very happy. So I'm going to start off by giving you a crazy statistic. So this is just for the UK. So in England, cervical screening currently prevents 70% of all cervical cancer deaths. But if everybody attended their screening, so that's all girls from the age of 25 when they get their letter, if they all attended regularly for their screenings, then 83% of deaths could be prevented. So I just thought I'd start on like a really scary figure just before I get into the actual telling you what a smear involves and things like that, because I just thought that's actually crazy. Like, we never. And also it's actually quite frightening when, you know, girls that are younger than me, or even girls my age, or you know, anyone that hasn't been for their smear tells me that they have no idea what a smear involves and what it is and what it means and things like that. And even I was a little bit clueless before I went. So I thought I would just do this video, for this part of the video, for a little bit of information. So if you've already had your smear, then you can always click forward, or you can watch this as well, it's up to you. It's to one of my close friends who is a little bit younger than me. She won't be having a smear yet, but she said she thinks it's a really good idea to film this video because she has absolutely no idea what a smear involves, what it means. It's not spoken about enough. People seem to be almost scared of it. There's a little bit of stigma. People are very self-conscious and there's a lot of smear fear. So I just want to kind of just go over quickly like what a smear is, what it involves and things like that. So I thought I would just start by saying you get a letter in the post when your smear is due, or like you have to go for it, and you also get one of these little booklets in the post with it, which is basically the NHS cervical screening. It says helping you decide, but obviously you're going to go have it done because it could potentially save your life. It could also give you decent information as well, things that you didn't know. So one of my friends would never have known that she had a tilted womb and uterus, for example, because her smear was harder to do because of this, and she would have never have known. Yeah, so when the time comes, you'll get a letter, you'll get one of these. It's full of information, it's full of facts and diagrams and things like that. So basically I thought it would be really handy for me just to explain in my own words, rather than you going online and scaring yourselves or anything like that. I thought it'd be easier just for me to say it in my own way to you. Hopefully that's a little bit nicer. You can always contact me as well, or comment on this video or anything if you have any sort of concerns or anything, or you just want to have a chat with someone. It's up to you. This is for the girls that are a little bit worried and they haven't had it done yet, or they're needing to have it done, or they're putting it off, or they're just basically wanting to know. So basically you need to be mid-cycle, which basically means not on your period and not closely due on. So basically at the risk of coming on early. So say you were due on Friday and you booked it for like a Wednesday, for example, I don't know, something like that. So I find it really helpful to use a period tracking app. So it tracks everything, you put all your information in and it tracks it for you. These are really accurate if you use them correctly and you put the right information in. I use them, I don't have contraception, so I actually use an app called Flow. It's a really, really good free app, and you basically track your periods, you track your like symptoms and things like that. It tells you when you're going to ovulate as well. It's just a really, really good app to have. So that would be my top tip number one. So one of the biggest things as well with a smear, one of the biggest misconceptions I think, is that people assume that it is testing for cancer, but it's actually testing for abnormal cells which become precancerous, which then later down the line could turn into cervical cancer. But the idea of the smear is to test to see if you have these cells, to then treat these cells, to then get rid of these cells before they become precancerous / turn into cancer. So the smear will take place in a GP surgery. It's usually a lady, I believe, but you can request a lady if you're a bit concerned that it might not be. If you obviously want a lady to do it, which I'm assuming you would, you basically have to take all of your bottom half off, so your trousers and underwear. You have to lay on an examining table or bed. They basically tell you to lay on there with your knees up. You cover yourself with like the white tissue stuff, and they basically told me to have my knees up and then relax all of your sort of your tummy and everything, and then flop your knees to either side, so that it just makes it easier, it's more comfortable for you and it's easier for them. So then they basically get what's called a speculum, and this basically it sort of goes in and kind of opens slightly so that they can easily access your cervix, and then you get what's called, they call it a brush. So basically the brush goes inside the speculum. I'll try and find a picture or something if you want to see that, I don't know. So basically the brush goes inside, and that is what actually takes the sample of the cells. So it's basically like a swab. So it's not painful, it just feels strange, it just feels a bit weird, because obviously you're not used to having something so, you know, deep in there. But it's not painful, and that's just literally it. So that is the smear. So that's basically all it does. It's just a little brush. It just takes a tiny, tiny, tiny little swab of your cells. So that is basically it with the smear. It's normal to have cramping after. It's normal to have bleeding after. I actually bled into the, like, so basically she does like the swabby thing with the brush, and then she pops it in this solution, and she said there was actually blood in the solution, so I must have bled when she did it. But that is completely normal, that's completely fine. I did have cramping after as well. I had like a dull cramp, like a period pain. Again, that's completely normal, because obviously you're bound to be, you know, when you think about it, you are bound to be a little bit uncomfortable after, because it's just something's disturbed your cervix, and that's never happened to you before. Whereas the next time I have it done, it either will happen again or it won't, because I'm more used to it this time. But it doesn't last long. So my top tips when you go for your smear is to wear a panty liner, just in case you do bleed straight after or a little while after, and wear something comfortable. Don't wear skinny jeans that are going to be really hard to get on and off. when you go for your smear, because obviously you have to take them off and put them back on again, and you want to be kind of, I wanted to just rush out of there. And obviously you don't want something that's going to be uncomfortable on your stomach after as well, because you don't want anything putting pressure. You just don't want to be uncomfortable, basically. I actually went straight out after. I had my smear at 8:45 in the morning, and then I went straight to Spoons for breakfast and then straight on to work after, and I was fine, really. It just felt like a tiny little bit of period cramp, but honestly it's absolutely fine. I can't actually remember, so moving on to more smear results, I can't actually remember how long it took, to be honest. Smear results are that I have HPV positive, which is basically a virus that can go on its own, but it can also basically cause abnormal cells, which it has, which can then lead to, later down the line, could lead to cervical cancer. I also have obviously abnormal cells, borderline changes. So basically what was recommended to me, which is what is recommended to quite a few people with this result, was to go for a colposcopy. And a colposcopy is a small procedure in the hospital, which basically, I'll insert a picture of how you have to have your legs. You basically have your legs in stirrups, but it is very similar, apart from having to go to the hospital and some things of what they do. It's very, very similar to a smear. I would just say it's more in depth. So it's basically, they want a more in-depth look at your cervix and your cells, just to see what's going on. So they want to just have a look, basically. So I also want to do a video basically on colposcopies, because there's no information out there really, apart from like word of mouth, which isn't always helpful, and I don't feel like you always get the full truth, if that makes sense. So I want to do a video on what to expect when having a colposcopy done, because I knew nothing and I was really scared. And I just want to say to you now, like, if you're worried, then I will film that video. Maybe comment down below if you want to see that video and you think it'll be helpful, because it will be really informative, and I think it will be really good, because it would have really helped me if I'd have seen a video like that. You don't get sedated, you don't get pain relief, but obviously normal people would be able to take paracetamol, but because of the medication that I'm on, I cannot take any paracetamol or anything, because it will affect my liver, because what I'm on is quite strong. It's a long story. So obviously you'd be fine if you could take some form of pain relief. I would recommend it anyway, even if you just took it after, because obviously it is a little bit painful. So they basically want to take a look at your cervix, like a closer look. So it's done by a specialist called a colposcopist, and they basically take a very deep look at your beautiful cervix. So it's very similar, apart from instead of a brush, they use what's called a colposcope, which is basically a magnifying lens with a light, like a little camera, and it comes up on a big screen, but it's usually behind you so you can't see. So I'd recommend obviously not looking, and it basically shows up all the abnormalities. So they basically insert a dye inside you that lights you up, so that they can then see, it shows up all the abnormalities, and obviously they know what they're looking for. What they may say is, we're going to take a biopsy, which is what happened with me, which is basically where they cut a small piece of your cervix and your cells out to test. So they take it off to a lab, and it takes a few weeks for them to basically get it tested. So basically that's all they do. So basically you lay in like this hospital bed thing with your legs up in these stirrups. You have the colposcopist, you have 2 nurses as well, so the colposcopist will be sort of doing her thing, and then the 2 nurses are there to basically help and make you feel at ease and try and distract you through everything. So for example, I had mine done on the 2nd of December 2020, so they were basically playing Christmas music, asking me questions, talking to me about work and about like different things, and like, you know, just basically trying to distract me, because obviously it's something that your body's not used to. I had no idea what to expect, but I just thought I just have to get on with it because that's what you have to do. And sadly, they told me that there's actually a lot of women that they book the appointment, they go to the appointment, and the ladies will say, right, get yourself sorted, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they actually walk out and they actually say that they can't do it, which obviously I get that you get nervous, but it's something that could be life-saving. So anybody that's got apprehensions or is really, really, really nervous, please message me, because I will literally talk you through in as much detail as you want, as much detail. I will give you as much detail as I can give you if you really want to. Like, honestly, if I can do it with absolutely no pain relief and being, you know, such a baby about these things before like last year, because I've had so much done, it's been the worst year for health, but yeah, I can always help you through anything. It's a little bit uncomfortable, I'm not going to lie to you. It feels very similar to the smear, so obviously you would have recently had the smear, so you'll be kind of prepared in the sense that it would be worse going straight into a colposcopy, because obviously it would be really alien to you. And then basically they're already in there, so you might as well just get it over and done with, the biopsy. They basically get these long kind of scissor things, and you don't obviously see anything happening anyway, you're completely covered, and they basically just take it. Everyone said to me, you can't feel it. And I am not going to sit here and lie to you and say you cannot feel something being cut out of your cervix with no pain relief. You are a human being, you are going to feel it. But honestly, hand on heart, it does not hurt. It feels exactly just like a pinch or a tug. It literally feels like that. It's honestly fine. You know, you can deal with it. It's honestly fine. So it literally just feels like a pinch and a tug, and then it's done, and then that's it. And then they'll basically insert like what's called, I think they called it a fake scab, which just sounded horrific. I just thought that's disgusting. So it's basically like an inside bandage, just because it takes about 6 weeks for your cervix to fully heal. So they'll give you all the information about that. I won't go into that in detail right now. But basically, so just to lighten the mood before I take it back down again with the results of the colposcopy, I just thought I'd tell you a funny story. So basically, I wore the world's biggest jumper because obviously it was a freezing cold day and I wasn't really sure, and I wanted to be cozy, you know. So I decided to wear a really thick roll neck jumper, and obviously I had to wear the mask as well. And obviously I was really scared and nervous, which was probably making me hot. You know, my anxiety makes me hot anyway. So I was like seriously overheating, and obviously they said, you know, you don't have to get up straight away. They'll never pressure you to get up straight away. They like you to lay down for a bit anyway. And obviously by that time you're so comfortable with them that you just literally will just talk to them as if they're your friends, because they've just done that to you. And I don't know, you just suddenly get really comfy. Well, I did anyway. And I had chewing gum, which I had to get rid of, and I was like, oh my god, flapping about, and they were like trying to get me to lay back down. And I think what had happened is I'd gone into a little bit of shock. I'd overheated and gone into a little bit of shock, because obviously I wasn't used to this situation, I wasn't used to this pain, and I was just, I don't know, I just went a bit crazy. And they were playing really loud. They were playing Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. which I was just like, oh my God, you know, this is going to give me PTSD at work because I work in retail, and I've heard it so much since, and honestly, I can never listen to that song the same again. And yeah, it was just terrible. And they were like, okay, like, you know, you might start feeling a little bit lightheaded, a little bit dizzy. That's completely normal. Just lay there, like, blah, blah, blah. I kept trying to get up, and they were like, no, you need to lay back down. And then all of a sudden, it was literally like, bing. Oh my God, I just completely went, it just kind of suddenly started coming over me that I thought I was going to faint. And they were like, okay, it's, you know, you need to cool down. So they made me take my jumper off. They had the industrial fans on. This is so embarrassing. They put the industrial fans on. One of the nurses was actually fanning me with one of those little sick bowl things, obviously not a used one, one of those, and she was so nice, and they let me take my mask off, and they were trying to calm me down. Obviously I was calm, but obviously not calm, if that makes sense. But yeah, I was just, I don't know, I just went a bit crazy. But they did say, I literally asked them so many questions. They were so nice. I was in there for a lot longer probably than I should have been. I don't even know what the normal time is, but I was probably felt like I was in there longer than I should have been. And I basically I said like, oh, I wanted to take pictures because I wanted to sort of raise awareness and things like that. And the picture that came out, the picture that's going to be in this video, is so funny because I thought I was going to get these really nice arty sort of lovely pictures, but the reality was I felt absolutely dreadful. I couldn't take nice pictures. I couldn't even get off this chair. So she was like literally basically where my legs were, she had put like a wheelie chair in front of me so that she could try and get my legs moving to get some blood flow, because I was just completely like, I don't know, it was like being drunk. It was mental. But they basically said that where they take the biopsy from, there's basically a nerve right next to it. Where they cut from is basically, if they hit that nerve, you faint. So I think they got so close to that, and the fact that I had just overheated myself so much, honestly, it was so funny. But they are absolutely lovely. I doubt they're ever going to see this video, but if they do, then they're just such the nicest ladies. I'm so sorry for that situation. I'm also so sorry for the girl that saw me after, because I basically was in the normal room where I have it done in the day surgery, and then they got me to sort of, you know, after a long time, they got me to get ready. You wash your hands, you sort yourself out. I'd obviously recommend taking a panty liner or a pad even, because obviously you may bleed after. It's completely normal to bleed for like 3 days, I think it was. Not heavily, but just a bit. And obviously the dark dye, the brown dye, will come out as well, so you're going to have like weird like discharge for a few days, which I won't go into because I don't want to scare anyone and put anyone off their dinner. But yeah, so basically, yeah, that was awful. And then yeah, so you get that, and then you get ready, and then they sit down and they have a chat with you. So I basically say the bed's here, and then there's the curtain that goes all the way round, and then the chair on the outside is over here, where the lovely colposcopist sits you down and you have a chat with her. So you have a chat when you go in, and you have a chat before you leave. And they were so worried about me. They said that my colour had completely gone and I looked really unwell. And I took a bottle of water in, luckily. So they give you your water. Like, I would recommend taking a drink with you as well. Obviously, ordinarily, you'd have someone going in with you. But because of COVID, obviously, I could not have anyone going in with me. So I was completely on my own. And I was planning on getting a taxi. I got dropped there by my mum and my stepdad, who kindly dropped me. This was obviously post like lockdown, but obviously medical reasons, you know, had a mask on. And basically I was obviously going to go and get a taxi, and they basically moved me from the main room to a separate room, and they said, we need you to phone someone, we need you to contact someone, because we're not happy for you to get in a taxi on your own. So luckily I got through to my mum, and I basically arranged for my mum, my stepdad could luckily come and pick me back up. I then got moved from that room to a separate room, which is the outdoor waiting room, which is where I saw this poor girl, and she must have been terrified to go in after seeing the state of me. So sorry if ever you've randomly, I don't know how you would have found this video, but hopefully everyone shared it enough that some people have found it. But yeah, basically, so yeah, that happened. That was just, oh my god, just the stories I could tell you, honestly, through nothing ever goes smooth for me, does it, honestly? So yeah, so by the time I had left, I was obviously experiencing like full on like period, like bad period pain, and I just felt like so drained, because it was like first thing in the morning. I think it was like, I want to say it was either 8:30 or 9:30 that I had to be there to have, that I was having it done at that time. I want to say 9:30. And yeah, when I got home, I'd left like some snacks on my bed. I'd left like a double chocolate cookie and like stuff like that. I made some toast and a tea and a hot water bottle, because obviously still at this time, still I can't take any painkillers whatsoever, not even one paracetamol. So obviously I was in more pain than like a normal person would be, if that makes sense. So yeah, I basically got into bed watching You Girl after eating, and after a few hours I think I eventually fell asleep, because it was just such a busy morning, shall we say. It was such a bad morning for me, and traumatic, because it actually flared my IBS up, I think, as well, because I was so stressed that my stomach was just bad and I just felt like absolutely rotten after. So I would say definitely have like at least one day off. I think I had that day and then the next day off, and then I went back to work, and then obviously future, we're now in another lockdown, so I didn't even have to really worry. So my results from my colposcopy are that I have SIN 1, which is basically the milder end of cervical disease, which means that it should hopefully, fingers crossed, everything crossed, change back to normal, if that makes any sense. So basically, because my cells are changing, they just need to literally keep an eye on them, and it can go either way. It can get more severe and it could eventually turn into something worse, or it could change back so that they actually heal themselves and it actually fixes itself, which obviously I really hope will happen. So basically, when you go for a colposcopy, you will either, you'll get your results, and they can either basically say, there's different stages of this disease. So basically it could either be so mild, so it goes SIN 1, SIN 2, SIN 3, etc. So mine is at the milder end, which means that I'm so grateful that they've actually discharged me from the hospital clinics. So basically I don't have to have anything done yet. So basically I might in the future, but obviously I'll get to that when I get to it. I'm not going to be worrying about it, because fingers crossed they will change back and everything will be fine. So I'm really grateful for that. And obviously if I had never had my smear, and I wouldn't have known to then go on and have the colposcopy, and then, you know what I mean. So this is why it's so important that you go for your smear, because this is found early. If I needed treatment, I would have had treatment, but I'm really happy that I don't have to have treatment, because, the last year and a bit has been so traumatic health-wise for me. I'm just so glad and so grateful that I don't have to have anything done yet. So basically I have to have yearly smears. So the usual pattern of smears is every 3 to 5 years. So mine will be yearly. So just to check, because they have to keep an eye on those cells, but they do take a little while to change. So luckily, I don't have to have further things done. But if you do have to have further things done, then you will be fine. Everything will be okay. Please don't worry. And I hope this video has helped some people. Hopefully a lot of people can relate to me, and hopefully we're all in this together at the end of the day. I'm so open with you guys. Like, I'd much rather tell you everything and then you put your mind at ease and you actually go for your smear. Like, please, please, please comment down below if you've booked your smear in, if you've had it, how was it, do you have like nice stories, horror stories, anything. Just let me know everything. I'll put my Instagram down in the description as well, so you can always DM me on there if you'd rather have more of a private chat than in the comment section of the YouTube channel. Thank you so much if you got through this video. I'm literally so grateful for every single one of you that have watched this video. Please give this video a massive thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and share the hell out of this video, because I want to get this video out to everybody because it's so important to me. Like, literally, I've been so anxious to film this, get this out and put this up. So, you know, tonight I'm going to be so like literally freaking out, but I know that it's so worth one person, you know, book it in and get it done, then that's literally my job done and I can stop being a nervous wreck. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.